Well, it's 9 o'clock on a Wednesday night, and you know what time it is. This is Uncivil Liberty. My name is Luke. We also have, as always, Halston. Say hi, Halston.
Oh, hi. Hi, everyone.
You should do that coy thing. Be like, oh, Lord.
Oh, me?
Oh, me.
Hi.
And we also have the wonderful, the dashing, the handsome Horace. Say hi, Horace.
Hello.
All right. So, if you've been on YouTube, probably want to go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where we've got all of our old videos. So if for some reason we're not online one week, you can go check out a rerun if you're so inclined. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook. I'll go and throw that in for the podcast. And if you're not listening to our podcast, check out our podcast. We're on almost every single major podcasting platform out there. So feel free to check us out. Shoot us an email sometime too. You can send it to Luke, Alston, Horace at Uncivil Liberty, admin at Uncivil Liberty.
Anywhere.
Questions,
cheap horse.
Questions, yeah. Anyway, so, kind of tying in to a few things. We actually, as far as our fundraiser, that's complete. It's dead. We're done. We're closing that bad boy out. Went ahead and initiated the transfer, so we should have it sometime between now and 8 days from now. So I'm not sure how that works, and I'm not sure why technology is making things so goddamn slow.
It has nothing to do with technology.
I know, but still, you would think, because for some reason the Robinhood app can pretty much send something to my bank account like that, but like that. But for some reason we can't get the fundraiser money for damn near a week. So once we actually have that money transferred, then we can actually set up a time to go do it. But anyway, thanks to everybody who decided to throw some money in, step up, put your money where your mouth is. That was very awesome, very awesome.
Yeah.
Greatly appreciate it. After fees and everything were deducted, we're looking at $480 and some change. So GoFundMe took about $20 out of it. No big deal. Kind of the price of doing business. So we'll push on through that. Got some big stuff going on. I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but we're gonna have some pretty decent sized names coming into town in June for on the Libertarian Party side of the house.
Do we have dates on that yet?
Yes, we do have dates. We have the June 15th and 16th. It's gonna be a big hootenanny. Probably gonna be down big hootenanny. It's gonna probably be down in Birmingham. Most likely is where we're kind of gonna set that up. We're looking at, maybe a dinner on Friday and then a nice all day event. Whether you're tied to the party or not, I think it'd be pretty fun for relatively like-minded people to at least come together and hang out. Maybe that might be a fist fight. Who knows? Don't know. But that would be
fun.
However you want to do it. Maybe we can get Arvin in town. In case those of you who don't know who Arvin is, he is the illustrious vice chair of the Libertarian National Committee who has a tendency of running off at the mouth to the point where he makes even people not affiliated with the party look bad. That's saying something. He's definitely got the he's definitely got the gift of gab.
Well, Arvin is not a cool name.
No, it's not. He's not a cool person, really. I mean, I've watched his interviews, and he's kind of a tool. But hey, people liked him enough to vote him in. So
some people think I'm a tool.
That's true. Yeah, we've had some more.
You know what? Got a cool fucking name.
That's true.
No, Sarwark isn't much better, if any.
Yeah.
That's
definitely a shitty name.
I watched him one day doing a video, and dear God, the man has the charisma of a rock.
Of course.
Boring.
Well, people can say the same thing about me, and that's fine.
Yeah. This broadcast is brought to you by Knob Creek 100 Proof. So I'm going to be making some faces
Holy
tonight.
Holy hell! I think I broke my toe earlier today. And so I'm like, I'm going to hold off on taking any medication for that until after the show. But I see Halston's going to go ahead and self-medicate.
I'm drinking just in case I break my toe.
There you go. that works too. So stay tuned. Uncivil Liberty is going to be working with members of inside the Libertarian Party of Alabama since they've been so wonderful, especially with our last fundraiser. We're gonna keep the good vibe flowing. and we're gonna see what we can do as far as getting stuff help get advertising out. It'll be a fun time, no doubt about it. So just kind of keep that weekend, June 15th and 16th penciled in, and let's kind of see.
You
See how many
probably in Birmingham.
Probably. We haven't nailed down venue yet, but Huntsville's kind of way too north in the state, and
Yeah.
Birmingham probably is a little more centralized location, so it just makes a lot more sense.
Montgomery smells too.
Or you can go to Montgomery and get shot. I really don't.
Not today. Not today. Satan.
Not today, Satan. Not today.
Birmingham is more centrally located for everybody.
Well, except for Mobile. I think Mobile's got people down in Mobile have got quite the hike to get to Birmingham. But yeah.
There's just one little cool place. I can't think of the name of it. It has really good drinks.
Oh, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
You want to write that down, lady?
This vague report has been brought to you by Halston. It has some really good drinks. I don't even know what it's called or what I really drank, but it was really good that one time in some city, probably near Birmingham.
It was definitely Birmingham. It was right across from the Saturn.
Right across from the Saturn dealership?
No, no, this wasn't in 1996. No, this was right across from the Saturn. It's like a little small concert hall.
Oh, okay. All right, gotcha.
We went down there for Machine Head.
Oh, very nice.
And then we ate at this little place across the street. Had great drinks. Whatever.
I'm sorry. For some reason, my audio decided to kick on my laptop. I'm trying to watch for comments, and apparently, there we go.
Not a lot of fans tonight.
Not a lot of fans. It's kind of dry. I was hoping people would pick up.
Jasmine Baker's joined. That's a longtime friend. We were friends 100 years ago in the Air Force.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
No, Amanda Brooks. Her and her wife are fantastic. Yeah, they're watching.
They're watching? Really? Because I'm not seeing it on my end. Okay, well,
Well, I could be making shit up. I am drinking.
That's quite possibly too.
Yeah. There's no telling at this point.
All right, I'm going to send this out. All right, cool. So let's move on. We are talking tonight about the name game, the Anarcho name game, the nonstop the nonstop headache is keeping up with the different factions inside the Anarcho movement, or whatever you want to call it, the shit show that is the Anarcho side of things. For those of you who don't know, libertarianism and the Anarcho crowd sometimes kind of gel, sometimes they kind of don't. Usually, if it's the libertarian audience, you're probably going to have a fair amount of the anarcho-capitalists floating in there. Maybe who else? I'm trying to think. I know anarcho-capitalists. You've got the agorists. Horace, help me out here.
Well, I mean, it depends on how you define your terms. Because, I mean, for example, both here in Alabama and in Florida, the libertarian community, especially within the LP itself, there was a fairly large number of libertarian socialists, or possibly even anarcho-socialists.
True.
And a couple of ANCOMs, or
yep.
Libertarian communists or whatever, which is
yeah, that's a
yeah. So you're going to have a little bit in just about any group.
A little bit of everything.
Now, I question, and we'll get into this more, but I question the use of the term anarcho with some of them, but
right.
Like I said, we'll get into that more later.
Right. Yeah. It just I guess for people who don't really keep up with the anarcho crowd and the conversations that typically happen very heavily on social media. There's a right and a left paradigm inside that school of thought as well. You have pretty much the right and the left. You have the right, like the anarcho-capitalists versus the anarcho-communists, and then you have people kind of scattered in between the two and different shades of the spectrum. So we're gonna kind of talk about some of them, so you can kind of maybe get a better idea if you're not familiar with it. So that way, when you have that one friend who's trying to be cool, is like, yeah, man, I like the anarcho-communists, you have at least a better idea of kind of what what's going on with
How
them.
full of shit they are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in all fairness, like each one of these different little schools of thought, these little Hogwarts schools of philosophy, inside the anarchy side of the world, they're all kind of full of shit to a certain degree. It's just kind of where you line up individually as far as your overall philosophy. So we're gonna jump into that. So we got a list pulled up. List is from, where's that list from? From crowdfreedom.com.
Crowd freedom, yeah.
They've got a pretty decent list that kind of breaks it down, bird's eye view, snapshot. It doesn't really go into depth in regards to overall philosophy. Wikipedia has some really good entries if you wanted to dig a little deeper as far as key people that are attached to these different types of philosophies, and their different writings and this, that, and the other. But crowdfreedom.com has a really nice table that we're gonna be utilizing tonight. So feel free to check that out if you're playing the home game. All right, so Horace, you want to kick this off?
Sure.
All right.
Well,
throw it out there.
First, I think we need to start with a basic foundation. What is anarchy? Okay. And most people, if you ask in society, they're going to say it's lawlessness, violence, Mad Max type thing, and that's not the case at all. Anarchy simply means, and this is from, I believe, Greek, without rulers. So
not without rules, not without
yes,
some level of order, without rulers.
And I given the fact that the asshole used it, but one of the principal foundations of anarchism, especially when you start getting into more of the anarcho-capitalist side of things, is that in an anarchist society, things will order themselves spontaneously. Also known as spontaneous order. Again, I dislike the term somewhat now because he who shall not be named wrote a book. Huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And cap turned white supremacist. Yeah, that's a feather in our cap. Let me tell you.
He who shall not be named.
Oh.
Wrote a book with that as the title. So, and it's pretentious garbage, is what it is. I mean, some of the ideas in it are sound, but the way they're presented, it is so pretentious. I don't see how anybody can make it through it. I couldn't. It's just like, no,
And
like
you're a pretty avid reader too.
Oh God, I spend more time reading than doing anything else. I mean, I have got like four or five brand new games that I've just bought recently on my Xbox One. I haven't played a single fucking one of them. I read instead. And when I say games, Mass Effect Andromeda, Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light, and Dragon Age Inquisition. I mean, these are, high-end top, A-list games. Massively award-winning. So, it's not like
So
solitaire.
suffice it to say, it's you dedicate more time to reading than you do
Oh God,
Xboxing.
Yes.
Okay.
Or anything else really. I mean, and as far as reading in books, if someone wants to read what I consider to be a good, solid book on anarcho-capitalism, I highly recommend Lew Rockwell's Against the State.
Careful throwing that name around.
Yeah. The book is solid. Some of the stuff that's on his website from other authors, not necessarily so much.
Not so much.
You know.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, that's that side of the influencing audience has taken a very hard ethnocentric stance on a few things. Where that's kind of where, at least I can't speak for everybody else, but that's kind of where I kind of start parting ways.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that the color of your skin or the ethnicity of your ancestors has very much bearing on much of anything.
Yeah. Although that tends to be more the fans of Hans Hermann Hope.
Mm.
So
That's a whole nother show. Let me put that on the
you
list.
know, and of which he who shall not be named is a huge, huge,
Yeah.
you know, advocate and supporter. Um, but no, I mean, no. Honestly, my biggest issue with what I see on Rockwell's side is so many of the authors on there have gotten to where they're pushing Christianity hard,
That's true too. Yeah, there's a
and I have issues with that.
yeah.
So that but no, like I said, as far as anarchy, it doesn't mean without rules. It means without rulers.
Right.
Now, in that vein, there are a whole slew of schools of anarchist thought. Um, Anarcho-capitalism. There's a derivative of it called agorism. And
Mm-hmm.
anarcho-capitalism is probably um, uh, uh, one of the more simple schools. I mean, it's basically the individual is supreme. Private property rights are pretty much absolute. And when there's only two ways to acquire property, um, original appropriation, which, given that unless the government releases a bunch of land, there is no land left to appropriate,
Mm-hmm.
or rightful acquisition from someone who already owns it.
Right.
Um,
And just to clarify, we're now discussing the anarcho-capitalist side of the house.
yes.
No.
Okay.
Um,
I
and
would say by far that's like the most prolific group, at least that I've been around. I don't ever shake hands with someone and they go, "Oh, I'm an ANCOM."
Yeah.
It just isn't.
Because they don't shake hands. They just
Yeah.
punch you in the face.
Yeah.
Nazi.
They don't have hands.
Agora,
Those little
They're all
girly
thumbs.
things aren't
They're all
hands.
thumbs.
Yeah.
agorism is kind of a spin-off from that. Um, you know, some of the key differences for them is they added a few more things. Um, they're all about things like cryptocurrency. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they're about black and gray markets.
Right.
Oh, and the other thing with anarcho-capitalism, free market, period.
Right.
And they do mean free market, no regulations, no nothing.
Right.
And with agorists, they believe that the change can and should be made entirely nonviolently. You know,
Yeah, it's a big counter economic stance.
yeah.
It's the only way you're going to defeat the state is to pretty much deprive it of its lifeblood, which is
Yeah.
finance.
Yeah.
Money.
And which the peaceful part, I agree with in theory. I just question its practicality, which is why I lean agorist, but I can't quite go all the way. Now, sometimes you will see people who are effectively anarcho-capitalists, but due to some of the issues that have popped up with it, like for example, Rockwell and Hope and some of the authors on Rockwell's site pushing some of the ethno stuff, the Christianity and everything. There are some people who have basically dropped the anarcho-capitalist title and have picked up the new term voluntarist.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it a new term. That was voluntarist. That was really heavy back. That's back 2012 time frame. I noticed that picked up around when the Ron Paul was garnering a lot of attention, especially from the liberty-based crowd. But yeah, voluntarism. Right.
It's making a comeback hard, and probably as far as that school, I would say probably the number one person out there for that school would be Larkin Rose.
Okay, that's fair. We've talked about Larkin Rose a few times on the show.
You know, and Larkin's pretty fucking solid. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, in all fairness, keep in mind too, Christopher Cantwell used to be in the anarcho-capitalist / voluntarist camp until he went crazy.
yeah.
Did his stupid shit, became a neo-Nazi.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
And, don't forget, and now officially an FBI informer.
Yeah, I heard that too. That came across my feed not too long ago.
So, I mean,
I was
it's
like, okay.
It's amazing. I mean, I think the last year, 18 months, has been really enlightening on seeing who really stands by the shit and who's been spewing shit.
Yeah, that's fair. That's definitely that's a fair observation because you've seen a lot of people kind of come out as more or less closet, if not supremacists, at least sympathizers.
Well, I mean, I can think of at least 3 names, and
yeah.
I'm gonna have to mention he who shall not be named in this case.
Voldemort.
But
Voldemort was a motherfucker, man.
That Knob Creek is kicking in.
Burned a lightning bolt in a baby's face. Fuck that guy.
Yep.
Oh,
there's that Knob Creek.
There's
that Knob Creek right there.
But there's 3 people who were fairly large in the anarcho-capitalist community that have basically shit on it and turned their back on it and proved themselves to be statists. Christopher Chase Rachels, Christopher Cantwell, Stefan Molyneux.
Oh, I'll write that name down too. We should do a whole show just on like turncoats.
So, I mean,
we should do a show on petticoats.
All right, this is gonna be.
I mean, that's a lost art.
24 minutes into this, he's already throwing out random shit.
Well, that is 100. What are you drinking it with? Are you drinking it straight?
Yes. Yeah, I'm having
because
really.
Halston gives no fucks.
Huh? Yeah, not tonight.
Because as fast as that's kicking in, that's got to be pretty fucking strong, even at 100 proof.
It's hitting me pretty good.
Well, this should be delightful because now let's transition over to Halston. And which one are you going to talk about, Halston?
Actually, I wanted to talk about some points on both of those.
Go for it.
Because we didn't really talk about any kind of counterpoints or anything like that. I mean, I don't really have a counterpoint to anarcho-capitalism. Not too much. But
I'm all ears.
With agorism, it's not really a counterpoint. It's more of a supporting point because there's, in the news yesterday, Trump tweeted something about the post office. Did you guys catch that?
No.
How, yeah, well, he tweeted... He tweeted something about the post office and Amazon and how Amazon owed the post office money and how the post office cost the taxpayer millions and billions of dollars or whatever. Well, then Jim Wright, the fucking cowboy hat wearing socialist, you know what I'm talking about?
No.
He's a pretty strong voice for the left. He's another one of those nobodies that types out his response and then tries to answer every possible question you could ask in his one thread that's 7 pages long. He just needs to write a book that nobody would read. Anyway, so he goes in to talk about basically Trump is saying something along the lines of Amazon is ruining the post office, which is fucking not true. Amazon is saving the post office, if anything, right?
Oh, yeah.
The other side, Jim Wright is saying that the post office is more efficient than FedEx and UPS.
Please, fucking spare me on that one.
Right.
Nope.
But in the middle, there's a lot of stuff to talk about there. Like the post office is supposed to be by law self-sustaining, and they're not.
Nope.
Every single year there's a deficit.
Yes.
And
not just a little one.
No, it's a big one. I forgot what they had to fund. It was like $5 billion a year or something like that so they could pre-fund their retirement packages because they weren't funding them. We were. Right. So they had they had a couple of losses there that were pretty big, and then they finally hit their statutory limit of $15 billion in deficit. Like, how many goddamn stamps that is? That's like 30 billion stamps. Get the fuck out of here if you think that's efficient.
Yeah, that's you want to talk about
how many fucking stamps have you licked this year? Luke, just tell me how many stamps.
I don't.
Well,
mean,
Well,
that's how you can tell Ant lick the fucking one because they're sticky now. You don't have to lick them.
there's
You didn't even know
that too. The postal service has become nothing more than just a marketing arm for whoever wants to send you junk mail. I mean, the post office is killing the post office. There's no argument there, and it's the pensions, the crazy unions that they have there. That's what's destroying the post office. It's not FedEx or UPS, because last time I checked, UPS will deliver stuff that the post office can't. If they want to cut into UPS's game, they need to up their game a little bit. But
I mean, I would challenge people that if you think that the postal service is more efficient than the UPS or FedEx, follow each around for a day.
oh God,
Because
yeah.
the FedEx guy is going to go all over the county
Yeah.
delivering his shit. And the UPS guy is going to hit a few neighborhoods and then go home.
Yep.
And he's going to get 30 days paid vacation, and he's going to get a free retirement after 20 years or whatever. It's just that agorism there, that counter economics, that's basically UPS and FedEx beating them at their game, but somehow they stay relevant.
I wouldn't call that counter economics. That's the free market, is what that is. That's the market at work.
Yeah, you're right.
Nothing to do with counter economics. And for me, part of it is the post office is doing shit they have no business doing. I find it kind of cool, but at the same time, it's like, what the fuck are y'all doing? Y'all don't need to be doing this. Everybody that knows me knows that, in a couple of years, I plan on doing a through hike of the Appalachian Trail.
yes.
And I just found out that there's one company that you can actually buy an Appalachian Trail passport. And it's not a real passport, but various places along the way have actual stamps, and you can get stamps. Well, it turns out that the post office along the way have their own stamps now, and with the purchase of a 1-cent stamp, they'll stamp your passport. Post office have no business doing that.
Yeah.
That's it's not going to pay for itself. So they're losing money.
Yeah.
It's just no. So quit doing shit you don't need to be doing.
Yep. And that's a great topic for another show. So we're gonna shift this back into the anarcho conversation. So
where are we going? Let's touch on crypto anarchist, because this is pretty fucking new, I guess.
Yeah, go for it.
Because it's like nothing cryptographic software. That's all they believe in. Anarchy and fucking Bitcoin. That's it.
Yeah, that's got to tie into the anarcho cap / agorist.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be lumped in there. I'm sure there's somewhere on this page there's like lumping in like similar ones, but that's like I didn't know. Like that's another one. I never shake somebody's hand. They go, "Well, I'm a crypto anarchist." I started growing this beard last year, and I wear flannel shirts.
Exactly.
Drink lattes.
It's kind of like it's just like I'm just an air freshener anarchist. I believe that. Yeah. No, it's kind of a bullshit subcategory. But yeah, the ANCAPs also are typically are big on the crypto everything. Honestly, cryptocurrency, crypto. I mean, anything blockchain, chances are, is going to have its hands being touched by someone in the ANCAP side of the house.
Yeah, but crypto encompasses so much more than cryptocurrency, blockchain. I mean, you have actual cryptography, PGP.
Totally get that, but it's just, and maybe it's because I happen to be around a lot of the anarcho-capitalist side of the conversation, where they talk about it incessantly to the point where I just don't even want to be a part of it anymore. And maybe ANCOMs kind of do the whole Bitcoin thing themselves, but yeah, I've never really heard a lot of the conversation surrounding the crypto side of the house, whether it's cryptocurrency or anything blockchain.
They do BitShekel.
BitShekel. There it is. Yeah. So what else we have on the ANCAP side of the house? Anything else to add to it?
I don't have anything else to add to it. I mean, I think that's the most prolific of the anarchy types. It's the most common. It's the most used in people's names. It's the most written about. It's the most talked about as far as anarchy goes, because it's kind of.
Well,
I would disagree with that. I
Okay.
mean, because
Well,
it
I
depends on
wouldn't.
what group.
shit. Fuck you
It
too.
depends on what groups you're in.
Well, of course,
Uh,
but if you're in regular group that's not anarchy, that's the most prolific one. If you're
well, one of
inside of an anarchy group, then sure, then you're looking at the other side of the coin.
one of the gr-
So, go ahead.
one
No,
of the
go ahead.
groups I'm in is literally called anarchism, and it's mostly mutualists and ancoms, and
There's a lot.
socks. So
Ugh.
you know, and
Yeah.
Well,
if
sure,
you
yeah,
ask,
maybe if you're under the flag of anarchism and you're in this group, that may be true because
you know,
it's like if you like the color blue and you're in a group called blue, there's going to be a lot of people that like certain types of blue, but in overall society, with someone who may be listening to this show that isn't into anarchy,
yeah,
for me, I'm not. That's not me.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not really a minarchist either. I'm just kind of I'm a realist, I guess. But I get more I have met more people who are ANCAPs than anything else.
Yeah.
Oh, given the groups we hang out with, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But and going back to more writings, no, definitely not. Given
Okay.
that the foundations of modern anarchism, going back to Emma Goldman and some of those people,
Yeah, that's.
um,
I mean, we're talking semantics again.
mm,
But we're like I'm talking about mainstream everything over here, and you're talking about all the stuff that you know a lot more about
well,
than I do because I don't read anything.
yeah, if you look at the foundational history of modern
I do read
anarchism,
Playboy.
though, the modern history, the modern foundation, sorry, the foundation of modern anarchy goes back to people like Emma Goldman,
Sure.
Max Stirner, and some of those people, um, who definitely leaned left.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Yeah,
and
that's a fair statement.
those people, and goddess knows, because it has been, they were writing back in the um, late 1800s
No.
on this topic. So.
Jesus was an anarchist.
mm,
Oh, God, I'm
Okay,
just kidding.
that's fair.
um,
So for those of you who have just joined us, because we actually have had a few people just pop in, I've been, you guys have been bantering back and forth. Halston is trashed out of his mind right now. He's rolling on Knob Hill pretty deep.
Knob Creek.
Oh, I'm sorry, not Knob Creek. My bad. Pretty heavy. And so just keep it in the back of your minds when you're listening to this. If you're watching this live or if you're catching this on podcast, Halston is pretty toe up right now, and he's even more toe up.
Just pouring more funny down my throat. You guys shut it.
So there you go, Laura Lane. This will be entertaining for you, no doubt about it. Laura Lane's and Megan popped up and she's like, "Can you give bullet points?" All right, so bullet points on the ANCAP. Anyone who's as far as anarcho-capitalists or people who believe, and this is going to be extremely layman's terms, free markets. That people should be able to trade voluntarily with other people with no initiation of force, freely, with no government influence whatsoever. So that means you want to talk about like sex work, that's fine. It's your body, you have the right to do with it as you see fit, whether you agree with it or not. That's not really up for debate. It's person A is exchanging something that person B has for something that they want. And it is a fully consensual, mutually beneficial trade. The government has no place to being involved in that whatsoever, as well as private property ownership. It's
That's absolute. That's one of those things that's 100% absolute.
Hardcore. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Individual sovereignty is a if you hear people talk about the sovereign individual, they're probably floating around the anarcho-capitalist side of the spectrum. So this will take us to the next. Let's move from this side over. So what would be the next step? I guess to the left. I guess I hate using that paradigm, but it is what it is.
With this list,
Well, let me see if I can pull up the list.
Anarchism without adjectives.
Yeah.
Surely to God, someone doesn't introduce themselves and say that.
I'm an anarchist.
Actually, yes, they do.
Do they actually say without adjectives?
Yes.
That's a damn shame. That's a shame.
Yeah, it's so
I mean,
anarchism without
it's
adjectives is
adorable.
this cute movement that's just like anarchy is anarchy.
Yeah.
There's no ad, there's no, and it's like not necessarily because a lot of the disagreements that you'll see amongst other anarchists is has a lot to do with what we currently struggle with in our society, which is economic related and social related.
Yeah.
And largely, though, you're going to see it more heavily focused on the economic argument. Relatively, pretty much across the board, the social side of things, from the anarchist perspective, is relatively on the same page. You know, two guys want to get married, great. Who the hell cares? If you want to sell your body, for money, great. Who cares? Not a lot of these camps are going to really have anything to say about that. It's when you start delving into the concept of private property, um, individual sovereignty versus communal sovereignty. That's where you kind of start getting into a lot of the debates. And let me tell you, you do not want to be a part of these debates because it'll make you just hate everybody. Um, Been there, done that. It's nasty, but so anarchism without adjectives is just, hey, we're just anarchists. They don't really have like a defined idea when it comes to different aspects of economics. It's kind of a mixture of a little bit of everything. And on this chart at crowdfreedom.com, it says mixed. It's true. It's mixed. They don't like playing the anarcho name game. Is that anybody agreement?
Laura has a point. That's all I'm gonna say.
I've been rambling. So what did she say? Halson's not tore up enough. He's still making sense.
Well,
Please do not encourage him because
it's a long walk through the kitchen. I'm out. I'm rattling ice cubes now, so
all right.
we'll see how it goes.
All right. Anybody else got anything on anarchism without adjectives? It's cute. It's trendy.
It's cute. It's adorable.
It's very Tide Pod.
There's a T-shirt there.
There is
Yeah.
somewhere, and I'm sure we'll find it.
I can't believe someone would say that. So I'm an anarchist without adjective.
Yeah, it's kind of
It's
pompous
cute.
and it's kind of arrogant. It's just kind of like, oh, well, I'm better than you because I don't define myself with adjectives. Great, who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Move on.
I bet you trim your pubes into a
Well,
heart too.
The ones I've seen,
I mean, I do.
Doesn't make him a bad person.
Fire crotch and a heart. I mean, that's Valentine's Day.
That is Valentine.
Yeah,
It's got Valentine's written all over it.
I mean, the ones I've ran into, some of their reasoning does actually make sense.
For anarchy without adjectives.
The basic premise is you're either an anarchist or you're not. Adding other adjectives doesn't change anything. Are you an anarchist or are you not? If you're not, then shut up about it. If you are, then fine, we can talk.
Yeah.
I mean,
so Laura, I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt real quick. Laura Lane just noticed that there's something flashing behind my head. I see it now. I think it's
There
just
is.
so you know, it's just I think it's the fan reflecting off the mirror, off the light. It's kind of creepy. It's very Orby in nature. Anyway, so that's what that is.
That's a Roku screen.
Oh, that's cute. God, you are fucked up.
not,
Yeah,
not as bad as I could be.
that's true. Let's not push our limits.
Yeah, we're not going to try to keep this professional.
Puking live, trying to keep this train on the tracks. Let me tell you, it can be tough sometimes.
I don't throw up whiskey, not good whiskey.
Yeah, please don't. Such a waste. What's next? Mutualism. It's pretty much headed by Proudhon. He's if you start delving into anarchist philosophy, he's probably one of the bigger names you'll probably see pop up. Been around for quite a while. Who wants to take on mutualism?
You do.
Yeah.
I do. All right, mutualism is kind of the halfway point between anarcho-capitalism and anarcho-communism. And if I'm getting anything you think might be incorrect, please feel free to jump in and interrupt me. But it's kind of it's I guess more or less more of a way for both sides to kind of come together and agree on some of the major things, and then kind of branch off on the lesser details.
And that is assuming you can get the actual mutualists to agree themselves.
Yeah, and that's true too, because the mutualists don't necessarily agree, so they're not overly mutual with each other, so it's a hot mess too in that camp.
Mutually exclusive.
Yeah, they're mixed based on production. Should somebody be able to own a company, and then have employees? Is rent theft? They
Because
they have different opinions on it, but it's an attempt to try to find some level of, I don't know, just a level to come together. Peace, love, and happiness in their minds. But it doesn't mesh because you're dealing with two diametrically opposed philosophies and trying to kind of smash them together to get something that actually sticks.
yeah, and it's just like I said, I'm in one or two mutualist groups, just trying to figure out what's going on and try to understand it. And like I said, depending on who's talking, you can ask the same question and get multiple different answers. Some of them are like, yes, private property is a thing. Others, no, property's theft. Um, so some free market, some the market has no place. Uh, it's just
Yeah, exactly. Megan,
Well,
the
it's
hippies of anarchy.
yeah,
I
yeah,
wouldn't
I can see that to an extent.
Yeah.
I totally could.
I won't insult hippies that way.
Oh wow. Yeah, it's kind of hard to. I mean, because it's so varied. I would say that if you were dealing with anarchists, you'll see mutualists, maybe 35 to 40% of the time in I guess social media groups in general. Horace, what do you think?
It depends on the group. It
Yeah.
really does. You'll see you'll see some in some of the anarchism groups. Um, then there's actual mutualist groups which are almost all mutualist. I mean, you'll have a few ancoms, a few people like me, who are there to
You're an
learn.
ANCOM?
I said, or people like me.
Or people? Oh, okay. And people like me. I'm like, wait, something has changed in Horace.
No.
Something flipped since last week.
What the hell?
No. I'm anarcho-capitalist with agorist leanings / voluntarist, depending on the
Depending
pick
on
your
the day.
term. Don't really
Depending on the day. Yeah, someday
Yeah.
I'm voluntary, someday I'm ANCAP. It just really depends.
Um, but yeah, it's just it is one of those things that it's like I said, depending on the group, like I said, in the mutualist groups, they can't even make up their own minds.
Yeah.
So, and I would say overall, honestly, as far as in the anarchist groups I'm in, the mutualists are a fairly small percentage, because they said, "Fuck y'all, we're doing our own group."
Yeah.
We don't want to get into the ANCOM versus ANCAP debate.
Yeah, which is a soul sucking endeavor. Totally. I guess the best way to
No
kind of
part.
spot them, bullet point, kind of just break it down, is if it's somebody who says that they believe in private markets, for the free markets to a point, or they believe that free markets should, have some should be controlled by the society at some level. That society should have some say over what is being sold, what is being exchanged in a free market. That would probably be your best way to kind of say, okay, that person's probably closer to the mutualist line. And keep in mind that a lot of people don't necessarily just 100% fall into this one category. But if you're talking with somebody and they're throwing out certain key words, especially when it comes to like markets and free exchange, those are going to be some of the telltale signs to be able to understand who what philosophy of anarchism
Yeah.
that
Well, this is
you're
2018, Luke. You have to have a label.
I know,
So
but
you got to have one.
And-
If you don't know what you are, you got to
If-
figure that shit out or get the fuck off social media. We don't have room for that.
if there is one group that
don't
is
assume my gender,
probably
sir.
that is probably closest to the mutualists in the anarchic community, it would be the anarcho-syndicalists.
Which is the next one on the list. Good segue.
So,
High five. High five. Another one. So why don't you roll into the anarcho-syndical, those guys. The ANSYNs is what I call them.
they're somewhere between mutualism and ANCOM. Means of production is collective, which is the communist thing. But unlike communism, they have markets. Wages are based on cooperatives. There's no profit, no hierarchy. It's basically workers' unions, labor movements. Translation, in my experience and my reading of history, it's something that cannot succeed.
I also think the guy that wrote this page is definitely an anarcho-syndicalist.
Something close to it, no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, because the way he everything else is like this much, and for those of you who are listening, you have no idea what I'm doing right now, but this much. This one is this much.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like these people are socialists, not communists. I mean, that's the tone of voice I think he's using when he's talking.
I didn't read all the things. I'm just looking at the chart.
Yeah. I'm looking at his write up, and it's a lot more in depth for that one than it is anything else. So I don't know if I want to take this as
it is by no means unbiased. It is not unbiased whatsoever.
Oh, that isn't true. And syndicalism does actually require a little bit more detail than some of the others. So, I mean, that part kind of makes sense. And I see, like agorism, anarcho-capitalism, there's nothing written there. So.
Yeah, he kind of just glossed over a lot of it, but I mean, I think the best way to understand this side of the house is that this is where you're starting to move deeper into closer towards the anarcho-communist side of the philosophy. But this really focuses a lot more on trade unions. And for those of you who are playing the home game, I posted the link in the chat so you guys can go take a look at the same page we're looking at. And there's nothing wrong with workers' unions. If people, people want to freely associate with each other and band together, I mean, that's normal. That's normal human nature. Where you start really running into problems is when you these type of organizations try to utilize force to run a private business. You start running into even more problems when they try to actually seize the control of production, and you can actually see this in action, and some of the stuff that the Venezuelan state has done, even though it is a communist country, but some of these actions of where the government has come in, seized private industry, and handed it over to the unions. That's where you start getting into the issues with this type of philosophy. And if you know what's going on in Venezuela, you know that it is a booming industrial empire right now. I mean, like, these people are super wealthy. Everyone is driving Ferraris over there now. Mm-hmm. They're doing great. And if you can't sense sarcasm, then I feel for you, because that country is falling the fuck apart, largely because they're operating off of feelings and not basic logic on how business is actually run. It is a great idea for all the workers just band together and they create this product and do this, that, and the other. But in the long run, that doesn't necessarily work out the best.
Well, the Norwegians figured it out.
They've done a pretty good job.
I mean, they're pretty close to the syndicalists a little bit. I mean, each individual. What the fuck is them like? What am I looking for? Sector of business, industry. So each individual industry has their own labor unions, and that's basically how they decide what the minimum wage should be for that. So there's fast food workers, and then there's skilled labor, and there's plumbers, and there's electricians, there's whatever. I mean, don't know that much about it, but I do know that they have these large groups that go around their industry, and that's how they decide what the minimum wage is. It's not based on what the government says. It's based on what's a fair price for them.
Yeah.
You could probably bully your industry, bully the private industries around, though. You like taking private, like what you're talking about, taking private companies and bullying them into paying more than what you're worth. But it seems to me that they've evened it out pretty well.
Yeah, and there's actually a term for that where you have private ownership, but the government basically telling the company how to run itself, how much to pay, how much they can charge, etc.
Yeah.
It's called fascism.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the Norwegians don't have any. Their government has no say so in minimum wage.
So, and as far as Venezuela,
That's a shithole.
yes, it is. That has less to do with the people banding together and more to do with the high level leaders in government nationalizing everything, and basically it's running it as well. It's communism.
Yeah, I totally get that. I'm just using that as kind of like a very high level example of what.
Actually, I think there's a better example though. Ethiopia. They used to be the breadbasket of Africa until the Ethiopian government took away the farmland from the white farmers and gave it to the native Ethiopians, and of course it went to people who paid money. You know how this works. Who didn't know how
recently, because that's South Africa that's going through that here recently.
Well, that's how I found out about this. They're basically doing the same thing Ethiopia has already done. Within 5 years of them stripping that land away, Ethiopia was facing a huge famine because the people who took it over didn't know how to farm.
Right.
So.
And side note, Megan, I don't think there's a BuzzFeed quiz on this. Even if there was, I wouldn't necessarily trust it.
Yeah, and for God's sakes, if there is one, don't post your findings on Facebook.
Please, no.
I would trust that about as much as a Salon.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
Salon, HuffPo, something like that. Slate, Daily Cost.
Daily Cost is, HuffPost actually is. I occasionally do see on the HuffPost some actually conservative-leaning articles.
Yeah, there was a conservative-leaning article on Washington Post the other day, which surprised the shit out of me.
Again,
the Amazon
it's
Post.
Rare.
No, it was.
It was a joke.
Oh,
because Amazon owns it, so.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was about gun ownership.
Now, does Amazon own it, or does Bezos own it?
Bezos, but yeah,
Yeah,
potato.
Is about gun ownership. This is about it was an article about how everybody's going to just go buy AR-15 pistols or whatever. Because it's not an AR-15. It's a pistol. It's a handgun. And everybody's like, oh, handguns are great.
Okay.
Anyways.
That's cute. That's cute. So cute. All right. So we're moving on past that. All right. So I think we kind of covered it. It's, it's somebody who thinks that the entire means of production should be controlled by the workers only, getting rid of the capitalist model. There's no business owner per se. Everything's employee owned, and operated 100%.
And if it's done voluntarily, that's
fine.
Work.
That's fine as long as it's not forced. It's not a condition of employment or anything like that. It's a voluntary arrangement.
There is one grocery chain, either in the Midwest or out west. I forget the name of it, but they're entirely employee owned.
Well, yeah, Publix I think is employee owned as well.
I don't know if it is or not. But this one they pay very well. good benefits, good everything. And they're one of the most successful chains out there, and they're constantly growing and expanding. So, there's nothing wrong with doing it as long as it's done on a voluntary basis.
Right. And I
Which,
think Megan hits it on the head pretty well. Blue collar anarchism. I think that's a good way to kind of put it. Yeah.
And which kind of ties back into the many of the so-called, in my opinion, anarchist philosophies aren't, because if you on a purely voluntary basis, they're fine. But the question for me, and this is the way this is the litmus test I apply, is under that system, can other systems exist?
Right.
For example, under anarcho-communism, there is no such thing as private property. Therefore, there is no anarcho-capitalist possibility. So basically, the anarcho-communists, if they wanted a completely system-wide thing, they have set rules and have set themselves up as rulers over others. Rulers doesn't,
right.
not equal anarchy.
Right.
So
Another amazing segue by Horace, because that's the next one up, is the anarcho-communist crowd. That's probably going to be one of the larger sections that you'll see whenever you're out and you see the Antifa movement, you see the Black Bloc. This is the anarcho-communist movement. Antifa, they've been in the news a lot over the past year. We've talked about them a few times. Antifa is actually the old paramilitary arm of the Communist Party back in Germany, who was fighting for power against Hitler. It's kind of gotten resurrected over time as some sort of like social justice warrior clan. It's not necessarily that. Anarcho-communists, they don't like capitalism at all. It's they're fighting for a controlled economy. Communism operates as a controlled economy. Resources, labor, it's all controlled by a central governing party. If you look at China, you look at North Korea, even though that is state communism, everything is centrally controlled. The central party controls everything.
Going back to Venezuela again as well.
Right.
So
it's all defined centrally. Now, I'm sure you guys may agree. Also, I'm gonna kind of just throw this in there, and you kind of touched on it a few minutes ago. It's a paradox, because you cannot centrally control resources and labor without there being a controlling party, even if you utilize a democratic method, because you may elect these people in there to say who gets what based on what's quote unquote fair, but they're making the rules. In order for those rules to have any standing, there has to be somebody enforcing those rules. So what you've done is saying, screw government, because we're anarcho-communists, but we need to make these rules and enforce these rules, so you have, in default, created a whole nother government. So that's why, you'll hear us criticize the ANCOM stance, because it's entirely not, on a large scale, not able to not become a government, to have to utilize force in order to push its agenda.
Or you have to have this large group of people wholeheartedly agree to whatever the rest of them say, to saying majority rules and that's it. And
right.
But still, I mean, if the majority rules, don't you still have? Aren't the 51% rulers? I mean,
right, exactly.
So how do you call that anarchy at all?
Yeah. And I do want to point out something here on, as far as communist countries. There's two particular communist countries that they're doing very, very well. They're raking in money hand over fist, pretty much.
I think I know the two you're talking about.
Take a guess.
Vietnam and China.
You got it.
Ha!
Both, however, have opened themselves up and allowed people to engage in capitalism.
Right. It's diet capitalism. It's capitalism light. It's like, same great taste, less filling.
And that is what is allowing those countries to succeed. It's not the communism, it's the capitalism, people. Okay, let's be real here. So, and on the communism front, there and anarcho, there is another group that is rather closely tied because when you see names of authors and founders of philosophies, there's two names that seem to be almost go hand in hand. Mikhail Bakunin and Peter Kropotkin.
Yeah, Kropotkin.
And
Anarcho-feminism.
Actually, anarcho-collectivism.
Oh, same thing.
But actually, anarcho-feminism is directly tied into the ANCOMs. It's just kind of.
And that's Emma Go.
Reading over some of these, the comments in on this post about anarcho-feminism is ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Like this fucking woman's talking about how she doesn't want her kid to latch onto her anymore because that's what they do to moms. She's not a mom. She wants to be a person. What the fuck? You had that kid.
That's.
Fucking...
That's.
She needs to quit reading Sterner.
She needs to just fucking stop reading.
No, and Megan again popped up, and she's saying that people in power always seek more power. That's true, and that's kind of like where we're at right now. If you want to look at it just from just in our own backyard, it's all about power. If you look at Alabama politics, it's all about power. It's all about the GOP trying to maintain control. They don't want the evil Democrats to get it, so they're going to do everything they can. And I don't know if you know anything about Alabama politicians; they're not exactly the most ethical. I mean, come on. You got Bentley, you got Strange, you got Moore, you got who's the previous one before Bentley? They got who was that guy? The governor before Bentley, who's doing federal time. He just got out. Silverman. Yeah, him. That guy. That guy.
That guy.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what color you wave, whether it's blue or red. It's just people in power are going to do everything they can to try to absorb more power, and that's the problem with the concept of government as a whole is that it never ideally you hear people especially in the libertarian community talk about minarchy, small government, night watchman type government. The problem is it never stays that way. It just I think 2 or 3 weeks ago we talked about you just the tip. You give them just a little bit, they're going to keep taking more and taking more. And taking more. So, a lot more people are starting to look at some of these other options, whether it's libertarian or moving into more of, or at least researching the philosophy behind some of these anarcho groups to see kind of where they stand and what they believe. Because of the fact that there's been just such a massive overgrowth of government, whether it's state, local, or federal, in our own private lives.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
But
and that's what I was touching on when I said I'm a realist. I mean that's not a knock on anybody on the spectrum. That's just like realistically, how do you get to anarchism from the society we have now without some sort of a minimalist society? Like how do you go from this overinflated gargantuan government down to nothing?
Yeah, you can't flip a switch and be like, oh, everything's cool and everything's fine. People would lose their fucking minds. It'd be a Walking Dead in this world.
There's 300 million motherfuckers. You can't just expect them to just forget this all existed. I'm gonna pander to our audience a little bit. Nick says, any comments on the YouTube shooter and why there's no media outlets covering it? Yeah, there is the.
Where is he at? Is he on your personal feed?
Yeah, is it not on there?
Yeah.
No, this is on the Uncivil Liberty feed. Yeah, it's on the Uncivil Liberty feed.
I'm not seeing it.
It's right above the power will seek more power. Who knows?
Don't see it.
I'll be John Brown.
I wonder if his privacy settings are doing that.
Maybe. He's a private guy.
That's fine. I'm sorry if you're watching this. I'm not sure who you are. But
so Nick Stack says Nick Stack's giant man. He's a mountain of a man.
Good
in more ways than one.
I like mountain men. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's any comments on the YouTube shooter and why there's no media outlets covering it? And I would say there's a lot of reasons you could speculate quite a bit. You can say, oh, well, it's a female minority handgun user or whatever. But for me, it's just few people got shot and it's not that big a deal.
No,
If 20 people got shot, if it was anywhere other than YouTube, you would never would have heard about it. If it would have happened at a fucking Long John Silver's in Springfield, Illinois, you would have never heard of it. It's a big
Look
deal.
At you throwing out some really awesome places and random geographic locations.
Yeah, I get smarter and smarter the more I drink. But for real, if it didn't happen at YouTube, we wouldn't hear about it. And that's the only reason why it ever made the news in the first place. So it's either died out because it's just not that big of a deal, or I doubt there's any kind of government. The CNN conspiracy about it being an Arabic woman with a handgun. That's just not. I don't buy it.
Female Iranian animal rights activists.
Yeah, I don't think that has
Far
anything
left.
to do with it. I don't think it has anything to do with it.
Oh, I think it has a ton to do with it.
Well, there was a school shooting last week, and it's not that big of a deal because it was over quickly. You know, it's another one of those things that's just a blip on the radar. I don't think it has anything to do with anything because there are leftists in California that shoot people all the time. This just happened to be at YouTube, and a few other people went to the hospital. It's not even really it's not a mass shooting.
Yeah, but it was a story, and it was a story, and then this other stuff came out, and all of a sudden, dead silence.
Yeah, because it's not going to sell. I don't think it has anything to do politically. I think it's just not going to sell.
Oh,
it's not going to sell ad space.
With the mass media, everything's political.
Yeah, I think it's more more capitalist than it is communist. I mean, they definitely have their own agenda that they push their left leaning shit, but to me, it's more about ad revenue. They're not gonna. The people on the left are gonna be like, oh, well, they're just bashing this poor animal rights activist that lost all her money. Well,
because they took away her ad revenue.
That's what happens when you let somebody play fucking puppeteer with your money.
Irony is a bitch.
It is a motherfucker. Yeah.
No, and I mean, I'm kind of leaning more towards horrors on this side. It's just it doesn't fit the dialogue that mass media wants to put out.
Nope.
The Parkland shooting with.
But it doesn't fit it's not maybe the overall category, but it's just another lady that had a problem with something and shot a couple of people. It's not went into YouTube and shot 20 people because that would be a big fucking deal.
She didn't even go into YouTube.
She didn't. Yeah.
She went outside. They were all sitting outside in their little picnic area, and she opened fire.
Yeah.
They're saying
it should say terrible shooter doesn't do anything and dies.
Horrible shooter.
Horrible shooter died after
sitting does nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I can't buy it that it's some kind of political leaning shit. Not yet. Maybe in a couple weeks.
I'm still waiting to see Boss Hogg get on this, and his little Emma henchman, Mr. Dick Arms,
See now that side of the media, they will never talk about that because it's not a big deal. But the corporation CNN, it's just because it's not a big deal at all, actually. But the talking head puppets, they're not going to talk about it because it definitely goes against their agenda. They're after white guys with AR-15s.
Exactly. Not Persian chicks with handguns.
Yeah. So. And you never see these people. As one more thing, you never see these people comment like when there is a well-spoken, educated black man wearing an NRA hat talking about firearms. You never, ever, ever see the leftists berate them underneath it.
No, that's true. I'll give you that.
But if I did that and I was some kind of famous guy or whatever, they would rip me to pieces. It's just
I've
really
seen,
strange.
Colin Colin.
Powell?
No.
Colin Powell?
No.
Tom Collins?
No.
Bill Collins?
No.
No.
I can hear it calling in the air tonight. Hold on.
No, he's a black guy. He's actually done some stuff for some videos for the NRA.
Yeah.
He's much younger.
Yeah, there's actually a whole bunch of black dudes that do NRA commercials now. I mean, number one, it sells, but number two, it's because it's not as stereotypical as you think to own a firearm.
Yeah, this guy has his own YouTube channel, his own Facebook. I mean,
Now he's on Pornhub.
Yeah, he's migrated over to Pornhub now. I'm sure, like everybody else.
He can use both his guns over there.
He's generally libertarian conservative, somewhere right in the line depending on the topic. Uh, a little bit. He's a little more libertarian than, say, what is it, Steven Crowder?
That's not saying much.
You know, well, Crowder's libertarian on some things. It's just that,
He's a fucking idiot.
so and he's a lot more funny than Crowder is.
I know how
funnier.
you feel about Crowder. I've crossed that bridge with you.
Oh, God, fucking Crowder.
So
And Megan had something else. Have you guys
She
seen that
said,
post?
"Have you guys seen the post going around with the multiple news anchors saying the same line about media coverage?"
oh
It's
yes,
called CNN or MSNBC.
no,
Yes. Yeah, I have. The local news, the what's his name's companies.
All right, so
What's his name?
who?
What's that guy's
Rupert
name?
Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch.
No.
mm-mm.
Anyway, he's the guy that owns like all these syndicate stations.
Oh, I don't know.
Hmm.
But that's something that's if you pay close enough attention to media, you will see the same type of verbiage. Like if you just take a step back and just kind of watch it, not just just kind of look at it, don't get engrossed in it, you will see roughly the same thing being said in multiple different outlets.
Yeah.
That's just the way corporate controlled media is. That's
Well,
I mean, there's been documented proof that there are there's people who have worked government psychological operations who are inside some of these outlets as well, helping kind of I guess build the story, doctor the story, build up the sensationalism. Whether or not they're acting on an official capacity or not, I'm not gonna
yeah.
I'm not gonna walk down that conspiracy theory path. But there's a lot of documentaries that have talked about the manipulation of media.
No, not Ted Turner, Laura Lane. I can't remember this guy's name. He's been all over the news recently because of these anchors saying virtually the same thing about pro conservative ideas.
Sterling.
No.
Sterling Archer.
It's
Um,
a funny
but no,
guy.
Yeah,
there's a difference.
my soulmate.
There's a difference between similar verbiage and something that across multiple stations and multiple networks is the exact same script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is that if you wanted to walk down the conspiracy route, they're getting lazier and lazier because people are just trusting them more and more. I mean, like people aren't like we talked about the Las Vegas shooting thing.
Oh God, yeah.
And how people were just buying it left and right, but then you start seeing more and more people saying, "Wait a second, this ain't adding up."
Mhm.
It's just they're being told what to say. They're not really reporting. They're just regurgitating at that point.
I mean, I really do think that if it's
Sinclair.
not in, yes.
Okay. Thank you,
Yes.
Connie. Thank you, Connie, for
Connie, for the
for
win.
helping us out there because we're struggling. We're dying.
That's it. So I really do believe that print is probably it's still owned. It's still owned 100%, but print, including online print, news and editorials. I think once upon a time you used to read something that said opinion or editorial, and I mean way back before I cared about the news. You read editorial
Back
or
in my
opinion,
day.
and you're like, oh, that's not news. That's just somebody's opinion. Today, that's kind of the news. You know what I mean? That's kind of the opinions that you should probably have as a woke American are probably found in the editorials these days, not in the mainstream. Look what Trump did. He's such an asshole. Or look what Trump did. He's so great. If you think either one of those things, you're borderline retarded.
Yeah. So let's tie back. Let's cover a couple more of these
Excuse me.
these
Spill my
anarcho
drink.
schools of thought. Hey, yeah, I heard that. A few other ones you may see pop up. We kind of covered the whole anarcho-feminism or anarcha-feminism. It's
Silly. I mean,
I
it is
mean,
what it is.
I'm all for equal rights for women. That's I'm not coming out here saying I'm some sort damn the woman, because honestly, like, I have mad respect for women in general. I mean, God, you bleed for 5 days and don't die. Holy shit, more power to you.
Yeah.
But it comes to a point where it starts becoming militant. you're seeing a lot more movement in the feminist side of the house where they want to, feminists are coming out saying, let's kill men. I'm not seeing how that's productive to perpetuating the species, but, if that's the route you want to go, good luck, munching rugs and trying to, make better people.
You don't have a hard time making babies like
that. It's going to be really fucking hard.
It's fun to watch.
Not overly popular. Yeah, fun to watch, you damn right. But it's not overly popular as a whole.
No. Well, this is a pretty good point to prove that this is kind of stupid. Is cooperation, sharing, compassion, sensitivity, and warmth are devalued. Really? Yeah. Cooperation is devalued?
Cooperation and warmth? I mean, that's
and they're saying that those are regarded as feminine. Well, no, I'm a very warm, cooperating person myself, and I am a man. So why are they assuming my whatever fucking adjective?
Okay.
I want to be a feminist without adjectives.
How's that Knob Creek treating you at this point? Feeling good?
Pretty good. I feel pretty good.
Pretty fucking good. All right.
Yeah.
And it's and
I blow like a 1.2.
The whole feminist thing. What I've personally seen, you guys can say yay or nay, whether or not you've seen it or not. I've seen people who have actually been in the feminist movement, who have been fighting for equality for females, starting to walk away because of how crazy it's gotten. They didn't want the feminists from the 60s, the 70s, and even the 80s. They were just wanting to be on the same level as men, which is cool. That's fine. I have no problems. When this new breed kind of came in and said let's destroy men altogether and get them out of our lives completely, that's where they're kind of like, well, not really what we're going for. That's not what we started this movement about. So you're not gonna see a large amount of people waving this whole pink or purple flag and black flag as much. Horace, do you agree? Do you see a lot of the anarcho-feminists in some of the groups you're in?
No, I mean, as far as the smaller niche groups, probably the one I see the most, and oddly enough, they're the ones that are starting to get called out by all sides more and more, is the anarcho-primitives.
Yes.
It's like, well, if this is what you really believe, get off the fucking computer, you hypocrite.
All right, so for those of you who are not in the know with the anarcho-primitivists, these are they typically wave the green and black flag. They are super eco-focused, which is cool. That's fine. You want to care about the earth. Awesome. We need it. It's a good place to live. Last time I checked, depending on what day it is. But these guys want to get rid of technology. A lot of the key philosophy behind it is technology is what's ruining our culture, ruining our society, and also ruining our environment. So we need to take a step back and kind of go back into the wild, be more tribal in nature, I guess is maybe a way to put it. Because even saying that kind of opens up a lot of floodgates I don't want to talk about. But the irony behind it is that they have a lot of presence in social media in some of these anarchist groups, and you're kind of like, wait a second, if you think technology is bad, why the hell are you here? For one, why aren't you off into the woods doing your own thing?
Yeah.
But they're not nearly as popular as some of the other schools of thought. I like some of what they say. I can at least understand where they're coming from, with their perspectives. Some are more militant than others. You'll probably see more of these guys attaching themselves to the Green Party, if you want to look at from political structuring. Much like how a lot of ANCAPs and libertarian socialists or ANCOMs will attach themselves to the Libertarian Party. A lot of the anarcho-primitivists will be more closely aligned to Green Party and also green activism. So some of those more militant earth protecting movements may have more of these guys in them. Yeah. There was one guy that used to be a hardcore anarcho-capitalist. His name's Justin Stout. If you've ever been in any of these libertarian groups, and you've probably run into him back, I don't know, about 5-6 years ago. All of a sudden, he turned anarcho-primitivist, and now he's preaching that instead. You kind of run into a few nutbags. in dealing with some of these guys. Horse.
You're definitely going to run into some nutbags. And as far as anarcho-primitivism, there is again a related strain that's not quite as far, and that's the anarcho-environmentalists, who their primary concern is environmentalism. And again, there's no way to do what they want to do and be an anarchist, because to do what they want to do, you have to enact rules, which creates a ruler, and there's no longer anarchy.
Right.
So, and again, like we said at the beginning, anarchy does not mean no rules.
Thank you.
It means no rulers. So,
yep. Right.
Now there is technically one strain of anarchy that is no rules, and that's the we'll cover that before the end of the show.
Yeah, well, we can kind of move into it.
27 minutes ago.
Yeah, 27 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. Start wrapping this bad boy up. Come on, we're gonna run out of space on our cloud server. Let's
we had like a little over 2 hours.
Okay.
I checked it.
Cool. But yeah, that's that's one of those subgroups you'll see. If you're in any of these groups and you see that whole green and black flag, or that emblem or whatever, that's a dead ringer. If you're talking to somebody and they're focused focused very heavily on the environment, and they're talking about reducing or eliminating government, 9 times out of 10 you stand a really good chance that you're talking with an ANPRIM. Nothing really truly wrong with them, other than some kind of maybe misguided and some hypocritical stances that they're going to take, or positions in regards to technology. Most of them have a smartphone. Sorry, hate that for you, but you've just talked yourself out of an argument.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what is not technology? Like, you can't define that. So
Yeah.
how are you gonna build your fucking shelter out in the woods?
Can you use a rototiller to plow your crops?
No.
Can you use a hammer to build your house? No.
So great. So now we're back to sticks.
When we're talking about technological advances, I mean, look at the fucking wheel. I mean, how you gonna get your shit?
I think it's more based on just
something that uses batteries. That's
more the electronic aspect of things. They want to kind of get back more like
another one of those groups where definitions have to play inside their realm of reality.
Arbitrary.
Yeah.
The word is
arbitrary. That's a good one.
And as far as the anarcho-primitives, basically, they want to do away with all things modern. They want to go back to a truly primitive society. This includes agriculture.
I mean, if they only wanted to get rid of like flat bill hats, I'd be good with that.
Yes,
those
or snapbacks.
Stupid.
Anarcho snapback is something.
What they want
those hats.
is they want a hunter-gatherer society.
Yeah, I do too, except I would like to be able to use my smartphone to plot where I find deer beds so I can go back through that and kill those deer next time. That's what I want. I want hunter-gatherer. I want to grow peanuts and fucking shoot shit.
And I mean, it's not to say that it's not to say that the anarcho-primitives couldn't, achieve that. But in order to do so, you're looking at wiping out 99.99% of humanity in the process.
Yeah, but even
Which
still,
on some days I'm actually okay with. Honestly.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie to you.
You still lose that. You still lose the black part of that flag, in my opinion. Like, how you going to be an anarchist and say that you can't be technologically advanced?
Again,
you can't.
I will agree with you totally there, because you are absolutely right. That's a tough one. Really, when it comes down to it, the only system that I can find that truly does meet, as far as if we're going to use the adjectives, we'll skip the anarchy without adjectives. But the only schools that support that support true anarchy is anarcho-capitalism and its derivatives like agorism, voluntarism, etc. Because under anarcho-capitalism, with the strong private property rights, if you and a bunch of your friends are ancoms, you can go out, you can buy up a bunch of land, and you can set up your own little communist community.
So therein lies the problem, and that's where you kind of run into in the debate between those who are more on the ANCOM side of the argument versus the ANCAP side of the argument is who enforces those property rights, who bestows those property rights, because as it stands right now, regardless of whatever country you're in, government is the be all end all when it comes to defining and protect, or not, I won't say protecting, but at least some sort of legal remedy regarding property rights. So, you see a lot of the arguments coming back on that, saying yes, while over here the ANCOMs, we're the ANCOMs over here, we're saying that, we're gonna have some level of government to control the resources. Well, on the ANCAP side, you have some level of government to enforce the quote unquote property rights. So
Yeah.
there are flaws to these arguments, and not one school of thought is 100%, 100% correct or 100% thought out to where you can reasonably debate without kind of falling back, because we've been ingrained in the fact that we need to have this.
Yeah.
In the event that the anarchist model comes to fruition across the board, we may actually see something that's kind of more middle ground. Because we have so many people come from different sides that in order for people to kind of even to cooperate with each other, there has to be some level of compromise. There has to be some level of give and take.
That brings up something that it's not technically anarchy per se, but I think the closest we'll ever truly get to an anarchist society is something called panarchy. Which
this is a great one to end on, by the way.
Well, we still got to go over egoist anarchy.
Okay, all right. We'll close.
Let's do egoist anarchy. We'll do egoist anarchy, then I'll cover panarchy.
Egoist is individual anarchy, correct?
Yes, no rules. Do what you want. Fuck the world.
Yeah, peace, love, and happiness. That I guess those are actually the hippies of the.
Well, no, I mean you can be. Because there's no respect for property, there's no respect for markets. Take what you want, do what you want. No one has the right to stop you.
Might is right.
So, which again, like I said, that ties into the no rules.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't agree. I don't agree with that. I don't know. Even some of the egoists out there don't agree with that.
Yeah.
They realize that you can't have a society that way.
Right.
It's going to fall apart.
And again, anarchy being no rulers, not no rules. And in a, I guess, an anarchist utopian mindset, rules will have to be mutually agreed upon. So those rules, I mean, I have a hard time getting 4 females in my house to agree on anything altogether for anything. So I can't imagine having 300 million people trying to agree on anything. So whatever rules are in play are going to be very, very sparse. But then again, of course, Megan brings up a point. Very Viking society. That's that's pretty accurate. And actually, Iceland, for the most part, was very for a very, very long time. Was more or less an anarchist type of society. They had leaders, but they weren't necessarily rulers. They were more like moderators. They were more like keepers of the peace.
Well, it's the same thing with the Celtic tribes.
Well, a lot of the Celts came from the Viking structure.
Yeah. See, I see them as similar societies, and different parts of Europe, though.
Right.
So, and very. Whereas you have the Vikings in Northern Europe, more towards the eastern part.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have in the western part in Northern Europe, you have the Celts.
Right.
France, Germany, Scotland, Ireland.
Yeah, that's a good topic for a whole nother show.
So okay. Anyway, getting back on topic. So, panarchy. Okay, I have to explain one little detail real quick. We use the term state a lot. When we use it, we're not necessarily referring to like the state of Alabama or the state of California. When we use the term state, we mean it in the following by the following definition. The state is any organization that has a geographic has a monopoly on force in a given geographic area.
Okay.
So now, and this is what, as anarchists, we oppose. Now, panarchy basically means multiple systems of governance in a single geographical area. So, like, say, here in Alabama, if we decided to go to a panarchistic society here, those who want to be communist can be communist. Those who want to be capitalist can be capitalist. Those of us who want to be anarchists can be anarchists. You know, and we're not bound by the rules of the
Right.
other groups.
Right.
You know, and I think that will end up being the closest thing we will probably get to a truly anarchistic society.
Yeah,
You
and
know.
that kind of ties back into the more tribe based.
Mm.
You know, you pretty much move into a geographic area or into a society that better suits your philosophical needs.
Hmm.
Or
Well, again,
yeah.
but you're talking about a basically a group being running a geographical area.
Right.
However, whereas panarchy is multiple groups in the same geographic area. So,
But human nature is that we will seek out those who are closer to, I guess, our ideological or our philosophical leanings, and therefore naturally migrate towards that. You see that a lot. You see that in jail. I can speak to that. I've seen that. You can see that in you just go colleges, overseas. I mean, like if you spend any time overseas, I've been to Asia. I was in Korea for a while. I was in Germany for a while. I kind of sought out other Americans because I'm a stranger in a strange land, and these people understood me. I may not have liked them, may not, have agreed with them or their politics, whatever. But hey, we had some thread of commonality.
Oh
Which
yeah.
It's a normal human trait. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm no means am I advocating for an ethnocentric type state or anything. I'm simply just stating that it's a natural human thing to naturally migrate towards others who share a commonality in the event that you are in a stranger in a strange land type of situation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. High school. High school's perfect.
High school's
High school never ends, people. High school never ends.
Yep.
Yeah. And you want to group yourself with people that are like you, and you want to push away people that you don't like. Whether you think you do or not is irrelevant because you actually do. Like even pacifists will push away aggressivists, right? Aggressors. Yeah. They're going to push away aggressors, right?
Yep.
But they're pacifists, so why should they push anybody around? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of we all get into this web of we're doing things so well in what we want to do that we're actually doing things that we don't want to do. And it's sort of like that with panarchy too. You would have to say so, because if you pick one, now this is going way down in the weeds that we probably don't have time to cover, but if you pick one, right? So you're saying, hey, I'm a capitalist. Well, then you also have to agree that what these other people inside that you're probably may actually do business with in your free market are not capitalists, so you're supporting them, vicariously. It's interesting. You ought to write a book about that, Horace.
Yeah.
So
that goes back to
I'll write a book about it because I don't have enough books to write. Hang on a second.
Right. Yeah.
Is it voluntary?
Yeah.
Y'all know I'm not a very good writer. I wish I was, but
Well, you're a good reader.
Oh, I can read. I can edit, and, stuff like that. But right, not my strong point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's it's way down in the weeds, but anytime you say I'm this label, you're also saying that you're not these labels. So you're already creating some sort of tension there that probably shouldn't be there if we're all going to try to say that there's, we don't want rulers, so we should probably try to not create tension. But how do you do that? That's
Tension's the natural state of things.
Yep, that's.
I mean,
ain't that the truth? Especially
look at
music around me.
Sure, but tension rarely gets more slack. I mean, not with opposing forces. I mean, in your house, like my house, there's always fucking tension. Luke's house,
well,
probably always tension. Poor
Yeah,
guy.
I'm not having-
Now he's got a son.
Yeah, I got somebody else has some balls. Oh, thank God.
in nature, I mean, if you go out into nature, there's constant tension.
Well,
It's
sure.
it's
Yeah,
you
but
know, it's
I mean,
the
you don't see
state
the
of
fucking
things.
antelopes hanging out with the lions. I mean,
No, because they're too, they're so tense watching for them.
sure. That's what I'm saying. But that's still that's what I mean. We're as sentient beings, we don't want to be around tension. I mean, you may want to. I can't speak for everybody. There might be some people that just love being stressed the fuck out. But for me, that's not me. I want tension to be smaller for everyone, and it would just make a more harmonious society. But that's a bunch of hippie bullshit. That's never going to happen. So it doesn't matter. I'll just keep drinking and saying stupid shit.
Keep drinking.
Yeah. For me, a certain amount of stress and tension, I like it. It drives me.
Yeah, I
So-
think you would disagree if like the people on the next street over just wanted to take all your shit all the time.
Oh God, yes.
You know what I mean? And so that's what I'm saying. Like panarchy
That-
would be great for me. That's like the ultimate. Once when you mentioned it to me the first time, and that was like, man, that's the shit there. So I started thinking about it a little bit more and reading into it a little bit more, and that's like the ultimate society for me, because everybody gets to pick what they want to do, and you get to limit the shit you want to limit. But
Oh wait, you're about to take another out.
yeah, we are.
Hey, and my cousin just joined. Hey, Robert.
Hey, Robert, how you doing? But yeah, so I like panarchy a lot. I mean, that would be the be all end all for me. But I still think it would. There's still going to be people that are shaking their fists at the sky and wondering why they can't have what they want.
Possible, but but again, like I said, I think panarchy is probably the closest we will come to the kind of anarchist society I'd like to see, and I'm okay with that. It basically lets each group do what they want to do.
Well, we got a long way to go considering 110,000 people like that post about the fucking post office being more efficient than the UPS and FedEx.
Yeah,
So.
it's an uphill battle, no doubt.
Oh God, yeah.
So I think I'm just going to sleep easy tonight and not worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of sleeping easy, we probably need to send these guys to bed.
Probably need to.
Yeah.
I'm going to bed. I don't
All
have
right.
a fucking choice. I drink way too much.
Yes, you did. Holy shit, you did. All right. Well, thanks, Robert, for joining in for the last 5 minutes of the show. Glad you could throw up the horns for us. Any final last words, guys?
Yeah, fuck the
I
post
think we
office.
pretty much.
Fuck the post office. Fuck those people.
I have friends who work there, so
I have friends who receive shit from them.
Yeah, me too. Shit, literally shit. I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about around here, but at least at least in some areas, you can they will deliver on Sundays from Amazon.
That's right. There will
For
never be.
Amazon.
Megan says there will never be any model that makes everyone
That's
100%
true.
happy. Bullshit,
Oh, of
man.
course not.
Cindy Crawford, fine as fuck. Made everybody.
Eh.
happy.
Don't like her. I've
Oh,
never
yeah.
found Cindy Crawford attractive.
Well, then we can't be
Yeah.
friends anymore. That
Oh
just
my
ruins
God.
Everything.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so-
Well-placed mole. Get the fuck out of here, guys. The way she
Alright.
sipped on that clear Pepsi.
Clear Pepsi. Bringing back memories.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, so we're gonna wrap this bad boy up. We're about 40 minutes over our normal hour, but it's been a good conversation. I mean, it's it's definitely a topic that a lot of people who, especially who are kind of new to libertarian social media groups, kind of get blindsided, not really sure what people are talking about. So if we're able to help one person at least understand the web of anarcho adjectives. Yeah, I consider it a good night. But either way, we're going to close this out. Again, So yeah, Megan says, "Damn the man, save the
Yeah.
empire." Okay, and
Mhm.
Robert said he just saw this when he got off GTA, so I'm assuming he's rocking
Yeah.
he's rocking
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto. Good
One
deal.
quick addendum.
Oh please.
If you want more information from on either side of the coin,
Mm-hmm.
Horace at
For-
Uncivil Liberty.
Yeah. There you go.
no, for the right side, the anarcho-capitalist side type things, the Mises Institute.
Mhm.
Mises, yep.
They've got a ton of free books there.
Yep.
For the left side, what is it? C4SS
Oh.
Center
Is
for
it Center for a Stateless Society?
Society, yeah.
Yeah.
Billy
That's
Idol.
that's on the left.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, super hard on the left.
so
Yeah, check those out. It's c4ss.org or Mises.org, I believe, are the two.
yeah, sounds
email
right.
addresses or web addresses that you can
So.
take a look at. And I mean, honestly, with this conversation, I encourage anyone I talk to when you're even if you already know what you are, go read some of the opposing philosophy of the other camps. If nothing else, you learn a little bit. You try to better understand where other people are coming from. I've dug deep into a lot of different political and economic philosophers. I don't have to agree with them. I can read their stuff and say I can see where you're coming from, but I don't agree with it. It's always good to kind of just get an idea of where other people are coming from, so you can at least be better in the know. And you can be as smart as Horace too. I mean,
You
hey,
have better Facebook arguments.
I'm trying to back away from that.
MeWe's the shit, man.
Yeah, MeWe. Yeah,
I
I'm
sure
on
do
MeWe.
appreciate
I
that.
think Horace, you're on MeWe.
Yes, but
Yeah.
you still haven't gotten
I
to me
haven't
yet.
been on.
There are some crazy fucking groups, man. It's like old school pop-up messages. It's like you click on the
Yes.
first one, and the next thing you know, you're looking at clown porn. It's like that, and MeWe's the best.
Well, you had me at clown porn, so
Yeah.
we'll go with that.
Yeah, I started
but
out
yeah,
with libertarian memes, and then worked my way into
Ooh.
show me your titties today, and I was like, what the fuck? I joined that group.
That's great. That's family friendly.
not.
But yeah, find us on there. Luke Von Trapp. I'm on and
I'm on there as Rolling Thunder.
Rolling Thunder.
And I'm under my name.
And he's pulling the old man card and be like, I'm just me. So, but yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I debated using the name I go by at all kind of events and everything across the board, but it's like, no, everybody from Facebook, can find me this way, so
yeah,
I just decided to just keep it.
So yeah, we're moving over there. We're actually gonna be doing a site redesign for our website. We got a couple of things that we kind of want to get penciled in and get knocked out. So just go to uncivilliberty.com. Yeah, keep an eye on what's going on there. We haven't really put much content on there over the past couple of months.
No,
it's just one of those mini sites that
I think
we
we're up
administer.
the past several months.
Yeah, a lot of fucking months. But there's like 4 good articles on there if you want to go read those. But
there's about 6 or 8.
No, 6 or 8. Okay, cool.
Well, I wrote at least 2.
Okay.
So there's 2 good articles on there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know you wrote Cerebral.
Yeah,
you
mine
wrote a couple.
mine are just full of shit, but they're
Check out the Walmart selling dildos article. That's by far the best.
Oh, I forgot about that one. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was good. All right, so yeah, check us out on YouTube. Subscribe. I think
Idiot.
we could always use an extra subscriber. Twitter Space, we got that thing. We don't do much with it, right, Halson?
Yeah, we accidentally tweeted for a fucking gun giveaway today because I thought it was my Twitter, but it wasn't.
Oh, that's fine.
So
Sure,
we got that.
Whatever. Yeah, for our 3 followers on Twitter, we can do that.
Yeah.
And check out the podcast. If you're ever bored and you need something that's better than absolute silence, probably not us, but outside of that, there's no other last words. We're gonna close this out. We good?
Nope, that's good.
All right, guys. So you've wasted yet another hour and 46 minutes of your life with us.
Good heavens.
My God, I am so sorry for you, but I appreciate it. Feel free to check us out. Send us an email. Shoot us a message. You want to be on the show? We'll bring you on. Our Jeff Sessions nudie picture contest is still going. We are giving away a $100 gift card for anyone who can provide us Jeff Sessions pictures with him naked. All right? And nobody has submitted anything. So either this guy is squeaky clean or nobody knows how to use Photoshop. So, whatever.
Yeah, you guys gotta get your shit together, man.
And as far in our fundraiser, the payments are being processed. It's going to be transferred to us, and once GoFundMe decides to drop the money in the account, we're going to go out.
Then we also have to go shopping at 3 different dollar stores.
Yeah, that's fine. We're going to do it. We're going to buy out Dollar Tree. We're going to buy out Dollar Tree of all school supplies, and we're going to go down to the battered women's shelter. We're going to drop it on them. Drop the mic.
No, we're not.
Boom, we're out. No,
We're not going to drop it on those poor women.
Yeah.
Heartless bastard.
No, we're not. We got a lot of stuff in the works. So stay tuned. And otherwise, you guys have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
In tutus, that's right.
Good night, all.
Good night, everybody.